Hey friends, it's that time again. We are back for AI Next. Today, I wanted to share with you a conversation that we actually need to have, and it's something that I say we want to go from, or Gary Vee actually says it a different way. We need to go from clouds to the dirt many times. And today I have a great conversation, a partner for that. That's my friend Jason Moore. Welcome, Jason. How you doing?
Good. I'm glad to be with you today, Kenny.
So for anybody who's been under a rock and doesn't know Jason, let me just share. He's been seen all around town. I think you probably have actually been to an event or something like that. Not just an author, but keynote speaker. Has been training church leaders by the thousands over the last. Is it over? It's over a decade, Jason, that you've been really investing in resourcing churches, right? And
Yeah.
I think, whether it's, worship design or guest readiness or church online, that's the realm that I've been around for a while, and we've had some intersections there. I know that the last 2 decades in particular, that your heart is to resource the local church, whether it's a small church, multi-site, large church, all different styles and means. I think that's where I love your heart is right now. And if you haven't bumped into Jason's writings, he's a prolific author. He's got 14 books under his belt, with the latest one that's out on Amazon, wherever books are sold. You should pick it up, AI in the Church. It is one of the classics, I think, that will be seen as a milestone in our innovation front that we are actually processing in real time as a society, a culture, and even in our niche in ministry. Jason, why don't you just give us 2 seconds on, what are you seeing out there right now in terms of your leadership in this space? What's the number one misconception that people have in terms of AI and church and ministry today? What are you bumping into as you are crisscrossing the nation, working with teams all over?
I run into three different groups of people. I run into the people who are curious about this.
Mm.
I run into people that are convinced that this is something that does belong in the church. And then I run into people that are dead set against it and just think it's the devil and it's awful and it's going to be harmful
Yeah.
to the church. I think one of the misconceptions, and I'm sure you've run into this too, is that people think, well, hey, I could just do it for you. I've
Yeah.
had so many people say, oh, did you just have AI write your book for you? Which it doesn't quite work like that. And I think there's some concern that
No,
like,
there's no big shiny little like orb that just does everything for you, like the Jetsons or something like that. It's
right.
not that easy.
I quoted you in the book about the magic vending machine,
Oh
that
yes,
you don't treat it like a vending machine where
yeah,
you press a button and a shiny little
yes,
wrapper comes out and
yeah.
you feel, you take the content and it's just great to consume. Um,
Here's my
so
question. So here's my question. When you bump into someone with that type of objection,
yes.
have you gone through the process of talking with them and finding out what is their experience? Has the majority of the people that have that objection, have they actually used AI in any of its forms and tools yet? Or is that coming from people that actually have been using AI and they have still that fear and objection?
I think most of the people that are skeptical haven't really played with it that much. Most of the time when I'll say, what's your experience been? Oh, I tried Chat GPT or something like that. Uh, Most of the people that have tried Chat GPT and have found that it didn't really work,
Hmm.
didn't really know how to talk to it in a way that was very meaningful.
Yeah.
We both talk about, we have kind of different methodologies we talk about that I think are pretty similar, but you have to give it context and help it understand the task that you're after and what role it's going to play in it. And, there's all these little things that really help. And I tell people all the time, if you're using AI the right way, it's not a do it for you, it's a do it with you. And it's not just a command or a query, but a conversation. And when you think of it like that, when you collaborate with AI, you get much better outputs.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, you said you have three buckets. What are the three types of people that you meet again?
The curious, the convinced, and the dead set against it.
Okay. And even on the convinced, what are there any misconceptions that they still have? Because you're deep into it. everyone's relatively new on this innovation front, no matter how much you're using. Is there something that even the convinced you, from your point of view, still need to process, think about, learn, or look at it from a different perspective?
Yeah, again, I think that a lot of folks just think that it can do more than it can do without knowing how to use the tool. You have to learn how to talk to it. You have to learn how to prompt images and video and learn how to use your chat bots and things like that. So I think while natural language processing has really changed the game as far as talking to computers, you still have to learn the right way to talk to it. And so I think that even the convinced don't realize that there's a difference between saying, make a picture of a dog, and then saying a photo of a dog in a warm, sunny day, a picturesque,
Yeah,
beautiful, shot on a DSLR camera, and you get something that's completely
totally
different than
different.
you would if you just ask a simple question. So, um, a lot of the work I've been doing is I lead some cohorts and I do a lot of training like you do, is really kind of helping people learn some of those very simple. I mean, it doesn't take much, but learning new language and how to actually interact with AI
Yeah.
in a meaningful way.
Now, um, I've been talking to a lot of peers just like you that have been really trying to investigate this innovation front. Um, there are fears that we were like, okay, you need to get over them. There's a different way of thinking, etc. In your view, are there fears that are legitimate? What are the things that you think church leaders need to actually consider, have a defensive posture, or really, I don't know if you want to call it like fears with a capital F,
Yeah.
but are there any topics or spaces that, that's coming up that are legitimate that, you're seeing that are popping up?
Yeah. Well, I would say there are a couple that come to mind for me off the bat. One is that they're really kind of related. I think about my fear is just creating proxies with AI, meaning
Mm.
a proxy for relationships with other people. I was doing a demonstration a while back and I was showing people how to use AI to create a series. And I went through the whole process of collaborating around the topic and a title and some other things. And I showed people that it'll help you pick out songs and movie clips and all that. And someone yelled from the back of the room, and they were well intentioned, but they were like, "Oh, good! Now I don't need my team. I don't need my choir director, or whatever." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "No, no, no." I said, as I think about using AI, I think of it more like the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Phone a friend or pull the audience when you get stuck. And you can use it in other ways, but it's not a proxy for actual human relationships and collaboration. And the second proxy concern that I have is that it is such a powerful tool that we could very easily treat it as a proxy Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
where instead of going to scripture and prayer and those kind of things, we go to Chat GPT and we start to sort of, in a sense, pray to it. I had a day when I was writing the book where ChatGPT was down, and I went to go do some of my writing work, and I switched browsers a couple of times. I'm like, "Where's ChatGPT?" And I thought, "I can't write today," and I closed my laptop, and then I thought, "Goodness gracious, I've written 13 other books. I never needed ChatGPT before. Am I already too addicted to what this can do?" And
Yes.
it's not writing it for you, but it does help you shape your thoughts and gives you different. It's great for research. It gives you different ways to uh, take your idea and bring it to life. And so I'm afraid my mantra is embrace the technology, but exercise restraint. So my biggest fear in the church is just that we would give too much of our agency to AI and not do enough of our own thinking.
Now, I mean, I think those are legitimate, and I think there are other things though that I'm also finding to me that I'm starting to process through. So, for example, I think the joke everyone starts to say is, "Oh, AI is going to take my job,"
Yeah.
and my response has been, AI is not going to take your job, but someone that knows your job and knows AI will, or you're proud to say that, hey, AI has taken my job to a whole nother level, right? And
Yeah.
you talk
Yep.
about that, but in reality, There is going to be disruption, right? With any other large technology that has come in. So, like the easiest one that I think everyone could see as an analog is toll booth collectors, right? Like on
Hmm.
the highway, we've seen toll booths been replaced by Easy Pass and technology, et cetera. That for sure will happen in all industries, church included, so church staff. How disruptive do you believe it's going to be in the next 3, 5, 7 years, where a lot of the administrative stuff, all the process oriented stuff, tasks will be taken away, where churches don't need to continue to hire the same level of headcount, whether it be FTEs full time or part time even. What do you say about those fears? And have you been thinking about that also? Because I think that is going to be a real disruption across the board, where any given church is not going to need to hire the same amount of labor in
Yeah.
5 years from now, surely not 10 years from now, right, Jason?
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think we have to retool and respond to the world around us, regardless of AI and so on. I mean, COVID changed things in the way that we where we spend money and how we do church and that kind of thing. I do write in the book about kind of the history of disruption of
Yeah,
technology. You know, if you were a hand loomer when the cotton gin came around, you were sort of out of a job, right? Because now there was a machine that could do what you used to do.
yes,
And some of those people retooled and they became the leaders in the textile industry and learned how to run the machines in the factories. Other people had to find new careers and so on. If you were a horseless carriage builder prior to Henry Ford creating the assembly line, it was eight guys in a garage building something from the ground up. Um, was the assembly line a bad thing? Not so bad, right? But if you were in that career, you had to figure out like what's next. So I think the church is going to have to sort of figure out how do we embrace the time we're in and the tools that we have available to us. I do think there are some jobs that are going to be eliminated, but I do think that there are new jobs that will rise up, and you have to lean in. The thing I keep telling my church leader friends is the only way to fail at AI right now is to ignore it.
yeah,
You don't have to love it. I mean, I mourn some of the things. I went through the drive-through recently, and AI took my order, and
yeah,
it didn't understand what I wanted. I wanted something that was a little out of the ordinary, and a human had to come on. But I think, gosh, I'm going to miss that human interaction of actually dealing with people. So many of the places that we go now, you can't even order at the counter. You have to
yeah.
order at an automated, machine, which I'm sure is using some sort of AI technology. So I think we can mourn the fact that things are changing, but we can't ignore it, and we have to lean into it. I always say, I talk in the book about the idea that, in my view, AI is a new wineskin. Our core values don't change, but our expression of them has to. The way that we communicate the gospel, and AI is an opportunity for us to communicate it in so many new and I think pretty exciting ways.
Awesome. So the other thing I would say is we need more discussions about it in our communities, right? So
Yes.
you don't need to become the expert in AI unless you're in that field, but you need to be the leader of stewarding conversations, right? And so, what would you say to someone who's listening today? How are they able to really create spaces for open, honest dialogue so that people can talk about the fears and the objections surrounding AI in their own ministry context? Like, do you have any suggestions or tips that you've seen work well?
Well, so much of this is so new that a lot of what I'm talking about is more theoretical and what I think people ought to do. I haven't seen people embracing it in a let me say this. Here's what I think we should not do, which I've seen done on a few different occasions, to have an AI service, where AI is going to write the sermon and AI is going, you may have seen that story in Germany where they created an avatar and
Yeah.
ChatGPT preached. I don't think that ChatGPT ought to be preaching our sermons. I do think, though, that we have a responsibility in the church to help people navigate not only their faith, but maybe their life. And some people are not even aware that these tools exist. So you remember last fall during the primaries, someone took Joe Biden's voice, cloned it, did a mass call, said, "Hey, stay home, come vote next November, save your vote for then." And there were a lot of people that were really confused by that. I think that we as leaders have to help our people understand, because it used to be that you could say seeing is believing. That's no longer true. With AI, I can show you anything. I can make anything. So I also think that we have to help people navigate their faith in a season where we've all had moments in our lives where we've gone to God in prayer, and maybe the answer that we were looking for didn't ever arrive, or God said wait, or God said no, or whatever the case may be. Chat GPT, Claude, Gemini, it will always give you an answer, even if it has to make that answer up. So what does that mean for those of us who are trying to help people connect with God in meaningful ways, to say, God is the answer, and God is not as reliable in the view of someone who does not yet have a relationship with God as we might think AI is in the form of chatbots and so on. So, but I also think there's an opportunity that will arise, and that is with so many artificial things. I think people are going to yearn for authenticity, and I think
Yeah.
that's one of the ways the church can shine again, is to create authentic relationships and so on. So I think we have to be careful about where the line is. Where do we not cross the line, and where our mutual friend Tennille Whaley, who works at Microsoft, she did a cohort call with one of my AI cohorts, and she shared that at Microsoft they have three buckets they talk about. Things that AI can do for us, toll booth type things, things that AI can augment, where we partner with AI, and then the third one is things AI should never touch.
Right.
And that's what they're thinking about at Microsoft. I think we've got to sort out in our churches, where are those three buckets for us.
So, in your mind, let's fast forward timeline, history, etc. What do you see as the top three areas where AI will replace pastors and ministry leaders' work?
Well, I think a lot of administrative tasks will be something that AI can
Like,
handle.
can you give some specifics? Like, let's dream a little bit. I mean, it's hard to tell, right, in the future, but what?
Yeah,
Give me some specifics that people might actually have some handles to hold on to in that concept.
sure, sure. Well, I think attendance data and tracking,
Mm,
knowing kind of when, like, I do an exercise in one of my cohorts where I pull in attendance data for a year from a church, and you can chat with your data with ChatGPT. Um, we might be in a rhythm where if we do series, we start the series on the first Sunday of the month or whatever, and go for 4 weeks, or whatever that might be the rhythm. When in chatting with your data, you may look at the whole year, and it may tell you that your best attended Sunday is always the third Sunday of the month. Well, maybe we start our series on the third Sunday rather than the first Sunday, because it has helped us see something that we didn't see before. So I think that sort of thing. I think maybe someday it will be sophisticated enough to maybe help us with processing of tithes and offerings giving. It's not quite there yet, but I do think that some accounting type stuff. I do think, and not every church has to think about this, but some larger churches have to think about kind of legalities and things like that. I think our chat bots will be able to help us. I wouldn't do that now, but I think a day is coming where it will help with those kind of things. Things like writing announcements, it can already do that pretty well. That takes time. I have worked with some small and medium sized churches where pastors in these little rural churches are using it now to create bulletin covers and graphics and social media and those kind of things. So I do think that if you're a social media person, if you are a church secretary, it will at least augment your work. It might replace some of that as well. I hope that it doesn't ever replace the role of pastor, of discipler. I don't think that AI doesn't have a soul. You do, and you're a co-creator with Christ, not AI. And at the same time, if God can speak through a burning bush and a donkey and stones, then God can arrange the bits and bytes in our
Yes.
computers to speak to us as well. But I don't think it should ever replace those functions of the church.
Um, in your mind, we need to be stewards of this technology. Um, can you share probably at least one ethical issue that church leaders need to think about now? Like, what do they need to discuss right now instead of like leaving it to later because there's unintended consequences of ignoring it
Yeah.
that you will actually incur later. What's like one or two ethical considerations that are most
Yeah.
pressing right now?
I think one of them that we have to just be mindful of is this technology is so new and we don't really know what the consequences of
Yeah.
using it will be when it comes to data. So I do think we have to be a little bit careful about how much information we're giving it about our congregants and giving and addresses and all those kinds of things because who knows what might happen if AGI is achieved and artificial general intelligence. For those who don't know, your audience probably knows that. Um, so I think there's got to be some safeguards, and we probably need to be a little bit careful about how we're using data. I mean, we've had so many data breaches and things like that. So we have a responsibility, I think, to protect the information of the people that are part of our communities. I don't know if this is, I write in the book about bias. There's a whole chapter about ethics. And I think that we need to be careful about allowing AI to be too involved. We really need to be the drivers, I guess is what I mean to say. If I have a whole exercise that I do when I'm teaching on this where I show if I just type, give me an image of Jesus by the Sea of Galilee on a sunny day shot on this kind of camera or whatever. It typically is going to make a Jesus that looks like he's from Alabama with long,
Yes.
flowing hair and white skin and, all
I
that kind
know
of.
that image. Yes.
You do. And it's not that AI is biased, it's that it trained on
Yeah.
human works that are biased. And so that bias is sort of baked in. But I also show that you can ask for an African American Jesus or a Hispanic Jesus or a Korean Jesus or whatever. I'm more of a fan. Here's a novel idea. What if we made a Middle Eastern Jesus so that he looked like he's from the region where he actually came from?
Right.
But I feel like rather than creating Jesus in our likeness, one of the things I love about AI is that I can say, give me a silhouetted Jesus by the Sea of Galilee. And then you can imagine Jesus's face. But with AI, I think we have the opportunity to bring a little bit more equity to the world in the way that we represent, rather than people always looking like me, white middle-aged guy, middle class guy, or whatever. That we would use these tools to. I think it's also true with the way we can use AI for translation. I mean, being able to share the gospel in multiple languages, and I don't have to know Spanish, but I can speak it in English and then
Yeah.
throw it into HeyGen, and it can now translate it for me. Uh, there's an opportunity, I think, here to bring equity to the world, and I don't know if that's as much an ethics concern. I do think we have to be careful about I don't want people to think I learned Spanish overnight. So I think it's
Yes.
okay to say, powered by AI or translation by AI or something like that. So we're disclosing the times that we use it, because I think that might be a little off-putting for some folks to not realize that that's my avatar talking to you today rather
Yeah.
than me actually talking to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Jason, I'm going to close our interview with a speed round of questions, if that's okay. So
Okay.
just lightning round, whatever comes off the cuff. Let's start with the question. The first one is, which is your favorite chatbot? Is it Claude? Is it Bing? Is it ChatGPT? What is
Ah,
your favorite chatbot as of right now, as of
yeah.
today of this recording?
Oh, that's really hard.
Come on.
I will say ChatGPT since it's a lightning round.
Okay. What's the latest trial account that you've opened up for a new AI service? Because I know you are trying, there's over 1,000 AI apps that launched this last quarter alone. What's the latest trial account that you've set up?
Oh goodness. Oh gosh, Minimax, I guess.
Oh, what's that? Give us a 3 second.
Minimax is a new AI video generator. So it's pretty powerful.
Okay, okay. What's one AI tool you think pastors are missing out on outside of
Uh,
ChatGPT, outside of the
yeah,
regular stuff? What's one? What are they missing out on?
ideogram.
Oh, and tell us what that is.
Ideogram is an incredible image generator, but it does design really well, and it's really good at text, and it's getting better at stock photos and stuff like that.
Okay. What year do you think artificial general intelligence is going to happen? AGI, for everyone who's listening, is when the machine will have intelligence that surpasses us as humans. What year do you think it's going to happen?
If you read the news, they say next year or 2026. So I could believe that it could show up late next year. I think everything's gone faster than we expected. So I
In
think it could.
2025.
I think it could happen.
Okay. And the last one's the easy one. If anyone's been listening out into this conversation, where can people follow, get your weekly updates? How do they learn more about your work and ministry in this area?
AIinthechurch.ai would be a great place to start. You can get the book there. I lead some cohorts. You can sign up for information about that if you want. You can connect with me there. Also, midnightoilproductions.com, although that my site is outdated. I'm working on a new one, but I'm a little behind. I should just have ChatGPT do that for me.
We're always improving and iterating. Thank you so much for being with us, Jason, today. For everybody here, we'd love to get your feedback. What's the one piece of this interview that resonated with you, and what's other topics that you'd like to go deeper on? We'd love to have Jason back and go deeper, nerd out on certain things. Give us your feedback, comments. Email me at kenny@churchtechtoday.com, and we'll catch you here on the next episode.